Good morning, friends, family, loved ones, dear ones. As you can see, I'm outside on a beautiful day. I'm not in the hospital. Um, a crazy turn of events happened. Um, I, the bottom line is, I got admitted to the hospital. I was there for a few hours getting all settled in, and my doctor called the hospital. It was in the evening, and he said that his wife had tested positive for COVID, and I had seen him that afternoon. So we had a decision to make, and he and the infectious disease doctor talked to us to give us all the information we needed as to what the risks were if I did get COVID, and having already gone ahead and started the chemo process. And so it was pretty obvious that even though I probably wasn't exposed, the exposure was, with the way COVID spreads, and we were all masked, and he washed his hands and all that stuff. The COVID could, I see Craig. Darling, keep going. Craig's finishing his run. So anyway, we realized, we were there. We were so ready. We were so excited. And we had to come home for 5 days. It's just crazy. So the story, the way it all played out was kind of like, okay, Lord, were you encouraging us before we had to have bad news? But it just seemed so good. There's a big process to get admitted. And first of all, we had, done all the laundry, packed everything in all its little places for the 3-week stay and all that stuff for the days leading up to it and that morning. And then you have to go to a few different appointments before you head over to the hospital. And usually those can be grueling waits in waiting rooms and stuff like that. But it went pretty well, pretty clockworky, shorter waits. And while we were waiting to see the doctor, Lisa and John showed up, my sister and brother-in-law. They were coming to help us set up our room the next day. And so our huge hope and prayer was that I would get a room with a large window that would minister to us each day, and if possible, one of the larger TVs, newer TVs, because when I was in a couple of weeks ago, our room had a very small TV, and it was hard to see the football when you watched football or any kind of thing. You couldn't really see very well. So we figured TV is going to be one way to pass the time. Anyway, we got finally up to the hospital floor, and they said, okay, here's your room. And it was this awful room. It was 2 small windows with a big post between them. And we opened the window, and there was a view of a building that was taller than our building. It was so depressing. And I said to the nurse, is there another room? Because I just don't think I can make it 3 weeks in this room. And first she said, no, it's just, And then she goes, well, hang on. Hold that thought. And I heard her saying in the hall, "Is that other room ready yet?" And she came back and said, "There is another room if you don't mind waiting about 20 minutes. And we're finishing up getting it cleaned." And I was like, 20 minutes? Please get me out of this room. And so we ended up getting put in this, what we called the penthouse. It was this beautiful, big, huge window overlooking downtown Dallas in the, like way far distance. And the floors are up high. We were on the 12th floor, and so the view is just beautiful. And the sky in sort of the southwest was beautiful. And it had a huge new TV. And we just were like, oh my gosh, look what God has done for us. Gosh, like, why did he first have us go in that awful room and then show us that he could get us a beautiful one? And so we ordered some dinner that got delivered, and we sat in this family room they have on the floor and ate some dinner. This was before I was gonna get all hooked up to the IV and everything. And we just had such a lovely time. And the family room has some big windows, and it's a happy space. And we were looking at the bookshelf. There's a bookshelf. And I said, look, there's streams in the desert. How nice is that? I hadn't noticed that when we were here a couple of weeks ago. And that's a classic devotional. And so let's go back to the room. Let's go back to the penthouse. And so we go back. We're on our way back, and we're passing the nurse's station, and she says, "Oh, your doctor called. He was trying to reach you." And I never dreamed. I was like, oh, okay. Well, I'll be in the room, and he can call the room again. And I just thought, oh, how sweet. He wants to check in on us or something. That doesn't seem quite right, but... And so he called and proceeded to tell me that after we left from seeing him, his wife called and said that she had tested positive for COVID. And it all started to go downhill from there. We went to bed that night not positive what we were going to do. And then that morning, the infectious disease doctor came in to talk to us. And she was like, it's low risk, but it's not no risk. And the consequences are not good. Like, immune compromised people can end up having the disease continue replicating for months or a year or over a year. Whereas other people, it just replicates for a little, week or whatever. And so the long-term effect possibility was pretty much our decision maker. So the day I was going to start chemo yesterday, we discharged from the hospital and came back to the Airbnb. And Lisa and John were still with us, which was such a mercy of God. I keep thinking I understand what God is doing. Like it seemed like he had brought John and Lisa to help us get started with joy in the hospital, because that's how we were feeling. We were so joyful. And then it ended up they were there to console us and strengthen us. So, Hannah she had already a flight to come Monday so that she can, she would be here for transplant day, which is, the huge party day. And meaning, on the calendar it has the little party thing because it's a big deal. She wanted to be here to honor that day. Well, won't be having transplant day while she's here, but we're gonna supposedly, Lord willing, I don't have COVID, and I will get tested on Monday and then get admitted on Monday. That's the day Hannah was planning to come. So we will have Hannah with us when we get admitted. And let's see, what else did I want you to know? I just keep the night we went to bed in the hospital. There's Craig. This is so fun. We were gonna go to sleep, and Craig prayed, said something like, he either said, Lord, you're telling us, trust me. I think that's what he said. Oh, and those words, trust me, have stayed with me. I don't like it. I don't like it. I don't like what's happened. I don't like the waiting again, the putting it off, the having to repack, unpack the stuff we need now at home and repack and go through the rigmarole of getting admitted again, and the anxiety about where are they going to put me. It's like, I know that God obviously can put us in a space that would help minister to us and get us through the weeks, but I don't always know what he has in mind. So trust me. Trust me. Trust me. So when I meditate on that, I hear the greatness of God in his voice, the greatness meaning like the almightiness, and the goodness. I'm sure y'all hear the ducks and the geese, do you? This is just so great. So I have this little creek here, you see? Oops, sorry. And then, can you see all the ducks? Wait. The geese? Wait, where are they? Oh, there's Craig. So another thing that was encouraging was Lisa and John, when they arrived the next morning, like, the morning we were in the hospital, they had to wait outside the room, and so they went into the family room and they picked up the Streams in the Desert book, and the devotional for that day was, it always has a scripture at the top and then, unpacks that scripture. I don't know if they even read the scripture. I mean, the explanation part. But the scripture said one short thing. And the Lord blessed Job more in his latter days than in his former. And they just immediately thought of us. And they came in the room finally and they told us about it. And I felt very encouraged and kind of like, faith. Because it was the second time that I had heard that. Maybe the third, but the second time was when I was collecting again last week. One of the nurses, who was a really like fantastic spiritual encouragement, Wilma is her name. She talked about Job with suffering, and I said, I have felt sometimes like Job lately this year. And she said, well, God restored Job in his latter years. And so when they said that, Wilma immediately came to mind, and I thought, Lord, you're speaking to me. You're speaking to me. But often, the way I think that means isn't the way it is, It's like, I don't want to think health and wealth, but I'm definitely hoping for health. And asking for total healing. So I wanted y'all to know that the stem cells are all perfectly fine. They're frozen and ready to go. No problem there. What else did I want to make sure y'all knew? My eating has been going very, very well. I've gained about 7 pounds or so. I hit the 100 mark about 5 days ago and then dropped back down a little bit, and I'm back up to 99. When I get in the hospital, that 6th day of chemo is going to, it typically messes with people's gastrointestinal system. So I'm competing with the geese. Just praying, again for that. And wisdom to know whether Sarah should come for the transplant day and whether she can make it happen. But when my counts get low, I should probably not have anybody. And that's kind of right after transplant day. So just some wisdom on those things. And of course, if you took a picture of my calendar, it doesn't work anymore. So maybe we'll get another hard copy of the new calendar. I know that you all are like, I can't believe it, just like we are. And like, why so much waiting? Why the waiting? But blessed is he who trusts in the Lord. And I can't remember what it says in James about when this trial has come upon you, something good. Anyway, love you all. Look at that cute doggy. We'll be in touch. I think that's everything.